Hello, friends, fans, and dairy products of all ages. This is Cheese of Ages, here with my long overdue review of Knights of the Crusade, along with, of course, adjusting the camera, and I should have done that beforehand, stuttering through my commenting on it, and drawing attention to the fact consuming up more time than I needed to, and clearing my throat. Anyway, bumbling aside, Knights of the Crusade is quite honestly similar, but also opposite of that. Let me explain. From a design mentality standpoint, it is right on the ball. Knights of the Crusade knows immediately when it set out what it wanted to be, and what it wanted to do, what it wanted to have in it, and it did all of that. Design mentality-wise, it had a clear, set way it wanted to be, and what it wanted to do, and it did it. And it did it pretty well. The problem is in the writing. While it's okay, and it's fine, and it's understandable, it's a little bit more convoluted than it needs to be. And execution, design, and placement. I mean, any reasonably intelligent person will have, no trouble learning the rules after, a read-through, maybe two. It's a pretty simple system. It's sort of a little bit heavier version of a rules light system. Take your average rules light system where you have just 6 rules tops and you roll a d6, or a handful of d6 tops, or using fudge dice, which is pretty much d6s with different faces. Take that rudimentary level of system that is narratively inclined and then add a few charts to it, sort of giving it a slight infusion of AD&D, so not a monstrous amount, just a little bit. It's like a little brick of AD&D style, chartage and feel to it. It has kind of an old school feel, but kind of new schoolish mechanics in the fact that it's rules light. And in older games and settings, it had more of a setting infused thematic approach to rule systems, and basically books tended to be designed around the theme a lot more heavily back in the old days. They had a set feel to them, a way they wanted to make you feel when you were playing the game. These days it's not so much that anymore. It's more on the bending towards the end of the game's system. What is the dice engine? How is this the mechanics going to work? Kind of emphasis. When back in the old days it was all about the stories you could tell with the thing. And AD&D, some people that is incredibly rules heavy, because it's chart after chart after chart after chart after chart. It was a chart so you could represent things and have incredibly deep adventures with everything represented. They wanted to just tell a story and have everything adjudicated clearly. It was trying to do everything and just give you everything you needed. And that kind of down-to-earth, we want you to tell stories in this system and have adventures in this system, in this setting, kind of mentality in the design that is kind of clear-cut. But it is on the rules lighter side. Classes do have effects on your character, basically in skill lists and general training levels in various areas, but it's kind of a loose approach where you could easily slap together improvised classes, and all the rules have more of a narratively focused bend to them, and you can customize each one very freely, which is lending to that. They're just role play. You're a Templar because you're a Templar. You're called that, and you have capabilities that are like a Templar, but could be a merchant, and side capabilities kind of thing. You wouldn't be that effective in one or the other because it would require branching out a little bit. But yeah, you got free reign like in a more rules-heavy, rules-light game. Or some of these others more rules-heavy games that use like the storyteller system, I think it's called, that like New World of Darkness uses, or like the Shadowrun's dice engine, where you can just basically branch out and do a lot of different things, and like have like, I am a physical adept, but I own a cafe. You can do that kind of thing, which is actually something that's going on in one of my games right now. I have this elite, like, magical physical adept ninja guy based heavily on Deathstroke from like DC Comics, but like picture Slade combined with Solid Snake and Agent 47 from the Hitman series. Just like a mishmash of their like qualities and personalities and stuff, but you know, like not as much evil as Slade is. Kind of just a blend of the three. And he happens to own a cafe now. So yeah, anyway, tangents aside. The heavy focus in this game is the setting and the stories and the adventures you will have within it. Rather than like being so drenched in mechanics and stuff. It's still a reasonably complex system for a rules-light game, but it's got a heck of a lot of substance for a rules-light game, which tends to just be like, put a generic coat of paint of your choice on this system. It is a little bit more setting infused than that, in the way that it does that. And the setting is really rich and interesting. And it has a lot of potential for unconventional as well as conventional adventures. It's set during the Crusades. And I'm talking a realistic rendition of the Crusades. There's the Black Plague and similar things going on. There's the church is corrupt like it was back then. You know, like they declared crusades just for like financial reasons back then, and like the church is like theoretically full of heretics, and like Templars are agents of corruption, but may or may not think they're agents of righteousness because they think they serve God. They really serve like dystopian future megacorp kind of level church influence. You know, like it's dark, it's grim, it's gritty, it's a horror setting nearly because of just like the setting itself. Even if you do not include the fact that there's technically monsters in here in this setting, and like there's zombies and like dark magic and stuff exists in the setting, it's almost downplayed and the less scary thing in this setting. It's a very horror setting, and the horror is man. You know, the darkest thing is society. Like, you gotta deal with the corrupt everybody, and the disease, and the poverty, and like people that are like robbing you on the side of the street may have just been driven there through poverty and disease and misfortune, and like nobody's a good guy, but nobody might necessarily be a bad guy that's conventionally so. It's just so rich for adventure. Like, it's a fantasy setting with a very dark, gritty, realistic tone to it. You know, magic won't just swish away the Black Plague. You know, we don't have that much magic in the setting. There's gonna be zombies, though. Eldritch horror from beyond the grave is a heck of a lot worse than what's inside the town gates. And I mean, a heck of a lot better than what's inside the town gates sometimes. You know, the monster is man. You know, that is, I enjoy that. There's so much depth to that setting, so much substance backing up the relatively simple, storytellingly infused rules. I really enjoy this game, especially considering the fact that it's actually completely free on drivethrurpg.com. Like, go get it and go check it out. I mean, it's not the greatest system I've ever played, and you know, I'd still like generally play other systems, because I have a limited number of slots in my local games, but I would be all on board for playing Knights of the Crusade. I'd just jump right on that. It's like, yes, I say yes immediately. I will play this, and I will enjoy the hell out of it. Want me to run it? Sure. I will run the hell out of that. Given the chance, I would play it in a heartbeat. So, that's generally my review of Knights of the Crusade. I mean, the book could be a little bit better written. It's kind of a little bit on the sloppy side, but hey, it's a free RPG. And it's reasonably easy to understand, especially if you're familiar with more rules-light or narratively inclined RPGs. So you'll be able to get a grasp on it reasonably quickly. I don't really care for the fact that, until you learn the chart, you pretty much have to consult a chart for success, failure, and difficulty ratings. But it's not as bad as that sounds at point blank. Still, the setting alone would make it worth downloading it and getting all the fluff and information and how the game's setting should run. Just that much is worth taking the time to go get it and read through it. It's good. Good setting, just freaking phenomenal. And then the rules system itself is interesting in its own right and works very well with the setting. The system and the setting aren't just like, the setting isn't just a really nice coat of paint on a rules set. They're designed, the system does what the setting needs it to have done, is what I'm saying. It's not just like, oops, slap that on something no matter what. Like, don't just grab Fate and, like, coat of paint. Don't grab, like, D&D 20 edition and, like, slap a coat of paint on it. It's like, these were designed together. Anyway, go check it out. Go get it on drivethrurpg.com, like, as soon as you have a free moment to peruse it. Really good stuff. Rich, deep. You can do conventional fantasy RPG stuff in it. You can do like dark age, dystopian past, political intrigue stuff. It's a very lush setting, and despite the presence of like magically booglies, it's kind of downplayed and has aside from the infusion of dark fantasy that is downplayed, it's very historically accurate to how things are, and it would be back then. You could be a Templar, a merchant, a mercenary, a bandit. You could just basically play lots of different types of people, and they make a clear explanation of how your character generally would act when raised that way. Flexibility, though, and also how people will treat you based on who you are. And of course, your nationality and faction affiliations will change how people react to you. There's just a lot of things you can do to customize your character. Anyway, this is going to be Cheese of Ages signing off. Go check that out. Number rating is a solid 9 out of 10. Would be 10 out of 10 if the book weren't kind of sloppy laid out in the rules explanation. And I only deducted a point, so it isn't that bad. And that little divot there. Anyway, Cheese of Ages signing off again. Stutters. Blah. Kumquats.